markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm John Tucker in the Bloomberg Newsroom with this Bloomberg Business Flash. We're brought to you by Oracle. Attention growing businesses. Oracle offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. This is for new U.S. customers with minimum financial commitment. See if your company qualifies at oracle.com/Bloomberg. S&P 500, 17 points higher, up 0.25%, 69.08 on the index. That's record. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 247 points. That's a record. And the NASDAQ 100 up 115 points, up just about 0.5%. That's a record there. Jensen Huang's spree of deals launching the AI frenzy to new heights. NVIDIA achieving an historic $5 trillion market cap. By the way, the next two biggest companies, Microsoft and Apple, with valuations about $4 trillion each. And NVIDIA shares today up 3.9%. And again, after the record close yesterday, stocks are pushing higher. The Fed, of course, widely expected to cut 25 basis points today. After the close, Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet reporting earnings. The payments processor, Fiserv, seeing shares plunge. They slashed their adjusted earnings per share guidance for the full year. Worst performing stock in the S&P 500 today. It is down a whopping 42% in today's market. You know, Starbucks has poured millions of dollars into rehabbing its stores and trying to get more people through the doors. Also trying to get them to stay longer, attracting and keeping customers, the key pillar of the turnaround for the new CEO. But neither one of those things is happening. The share of visits longer than 10 minutes has shrunk since Brian Niccol took over the helm in September of 2024. This is according to data from Placer AI. I guess, is there a special name for somebody who hangs out in Starbucks?
Yeah, I think it's these people that work from home that are just,
He means slackers.
Slackers.
No, not slackers. But
That's what Paul meant.
I think this is the thing.
People who hang out in malls are mall rats. If you hang out in Starbucks, is there a special name?
I think half the U.S. GDP is, done in Starbucks. People just doing whatever they do, their side hustle gig.
My daughter loves to go there to study. So
that's another thing.
That's her thing. Anyway, we check the markets for you all day long right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker, and that's your Bloomberg Business Flash. Paul and Scarlett.
All right, good stuff. Thank you so much, John Tucker. We don't have any data anymore, Paul Sweeney, and the Fed is a data-dependent central bank.
That's what they tell us.
So what do they say about the state of the economy?
They're just like the rest of us. They're just kind of going, what's the alternative investment, WLT, Alt-E? Keep going. I'm just looking around.
Okay, all right. Paul's going to give us some insight from that world. But in the meantime, let's go now to Jeffrey Cleveland. He is chief economist over at Payton and Regal to join us and talk a little bit about the U.S. economy here. And Jeffrey, do you think we're going to get anything actionable from the Fed chair when it comes to understanding how this week's layoffs, and there's some big numbers here. Amazon, 14,000 workers to be shed. UPS, 34,000 workers to be shed, will lead to more aggressive cutting of rates in 2026.
Yeah, we'll see. I think, he's in the same boat that we are. We're talking to all of our clients all over the U.S. and around the world, getting the sense of how they see the labor market. I think by and large, they see the labor market softening in through the September period and into October. So I think that's an interesting data point. I'm sure policymakers are doing the same thing, canvassing their contacts. I also think we have enough data to go on. I mean, the jobs data, whether it's from ADP or BLS that we had, shows the same. Haven't really seen that feed through. So the headlines, are worth paying attention to, and we'll just have to see how that plays out. But given that the Fed's over 4% on the funds rate, I think the safe thing, the easy thing to do is just cut rates today. I mean, we already had one rate cut earlier, Bank of Canada, getting back closer to 2%. They're probably at or below neutral on theirs. So I think the Fed should maybe follow their lead and move in that direction.
All right, WSL space ALTE Go on the Bloomberg terminal. That'll get you to private and proprietary alternative U.S. economic indicators. There you go. If you think the Bloomberg should have it, it has it. That's
Yeah.
how I.
You just got to dig around a little bit.
Exactly right. Jeffrey, let's assume that the Fed does cut today. What do you think would be a reasonable cadence of their future cuts?
From our perspective, we think that inflation is moderating. The tariff inflation that we are seeing is a little bit of noise, and if you try to look out over the next 12 months, we can build a plausible case to get back closer to 2% on core PCE by the end of next year, so the end of 2026. If we're right on that, even if we're in the ballpark, I think rates should be quite a bit lower. I think back to 3%. On the funds rate. So we have a cut today. We have another cut in December, and then we have 3 next year as well. So that's kind of how we're seeing things shake out. The only real interesting question is if we're going to have a much weaker economy signaled by the weakness in payrolls, or if things can pick back up. It's possible things could pick back up in 2026. So that's the interesting question. I'd like to see how Chair Powell answers that question today.
I suspect the answer will include some version of AI because of productivity gains.
Yes.
I want to get your take on inflation. Why is it that the consensus view is that tariffs cause only a one-time price effect?
I think, we look at it as, tariffs as a tax on imports. So it is going to push up the cost of goods. But when we talk about inflation, we're talking about the general level of prices, so all prices. And if you look beyond goods, and you look at non-housing services, for example, and you look at housing, both of those categories have actually dragged core inflation a bit lower year to date. And those other 2 categories account for, I would say, roughly 75% of core PCE. So when you're thinking about overall inflation, which is what we're trying to do, yes, there's some pressure from goods and tariffs, but I think it's being offset by everything else we're seeing. And the softness in housing, so rents and owner's equivalent rent, we expect that to continue in 2026. And if the labor market remains, somewhat weak, then non-housing services should also moderate. So that's how we're thinking about it.
All right, Jeffrey Cleveland, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Jeffrey Cleveland, he's an economist over there, Payden & Regal, out there in Los Angeles. Once again, leading kind of the winners out there in the world is NVIDIA. Just extraordinary accomplishment today, reaching $5 trillion in market cap. And there's always news around this story. Michael Shepard joins us, Bloomberg Senior Editor for Technology and Strategic Industries. Michael, first of all, I don't know, I guess it's just a number, but boy, $5 trillion suggests that this market continues to see extraordinary value in this thing we call AI. What do you make of it?
Well, you can see not only in the share price, which is up well above 40% this year, but you really can sense the enthusiasm for artificial intelligence and all the capex that has gone into it. We're going to be hearing later today from some of the hyperscalers, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon reporting results, and they are some of the biggest buyers of NVIDIA's technology. So there is a real symbiosis, and we haven't seen any slowdown from them. We'll get some signaling after the results come out in their various conference calls about what their plans are for investment in this area going forward. But at least based on yesterday's GTC event here in Washington, the big industry confab sponsored by NVIDIA, we're really getting a sense of no sign of an end to the momentum. And Jensen Huang was emphatic in saying that he sees no sign of a bubble coming and that he expects another $500 billion in revenue over the next 5 quarters tied to all of that.
I'm so glad you bring that up because we wanted to play some sound from that conversation Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, had with our Ed Ludlow, Bloomberg Tech co-host. Ed spoke with both Jensen Huang and Nokia's CEO, Justin Hotard. Let's take a listen.
I don't believe we're in an AI bubble. And the reason for that is we're going through a natural transition from an old computing model based on general purpose computing to accelerated computing. We also know that AI has now become good enough because of reasoning capability, research capabilities, its ability to think. It's now generating tokens and now generating intelligence that's worth paying for.
Mike, what gets my attention is Jensen Huang coming out and saying definitively that he does not think there's an AI bubble. Do you think any of the CEOs of the 3 companies that are reporting today, the 2 that are reporting tomorrow, are likely to go out on a limb and say that?
They have put so much into artificial intelligence themselves that they would be loath to issue any kind of a bubble warning. That'll come much more from the outsiders. The interesting thing, though, is when NVIDIA talks about AI, it is not thinking just ChatGPT and the other chatbots that we are familiar with. They're talking about so many more things and uses. And one priority for Jensen Huang is really to accelerate the adoption of artificial intelligence across the economy in a variety of platforms. It ranges from robotics to cybersecurity to business automation, all sorts of things that they were talking about, and really infused all the partnerships and deals that the company was announcing yesterday. We could do a quick review, Scarlett. It's Uber, it's Lucid when it comes to transportation, it's CrowdStrike when it comes to cybersecurity, it's Palantir when it comes to business automation. So the company really is not only trying to push this narrative, but it's trying to show it as well. And they even began to talk about some of the edge case uses for quantum computing, which is another area of keen interest for investors. And it's been an area that NVIDIA has been edging toward in the past few years.
Michael, there are some investors out there that are obviously a little reticent about this whole AI story and the momentum behind it. And maybe they want to tap the brakes every once in a while. And I think their argument is basically, okay, I get the big spending by the hyperscalers, but what's the return on investment again? Every once in a while we hear from those people. Where do you think that narrative is today?
Well, it remains one of the big questions. When does revenue actually become something measurable and tied to artificial intelligence use? And Jensen Huang was trying to point yesterday to look, AI has not only the use case, but it is actually starting to pay off. The models are starting to pay off, and this is why he sees the world not being in a bubble right now. But it is something that companies will have to try to demonstrate more visibly as they release results to justify all the expenditures that they have been making on data centers and on all the technology that goes into them to power these models that they intend to use.
All right. Michael Shepard, really appreciate your joining us and giving us a wrap up of what we're seeing right now. NVIDIA, once again, $5 trillion in market cap. $5 trillion, Paul, that is a lot of zeros.
That is. And when you see the movements in these stocks, I'm just thinking some of these big tech stocks that have been announcing these big investments with each other and ChatGPT, and the amount of dollars, the absolute dollars of gains and losses in the stock market every day on some of these names is staggering, because you are, a 5% move in a $4 trillion market cap stock. That's real money.
Right. And the spending that they're all doing on products or services and things like chips from each other, that is responsible for a big chunk of the GDP as well. So if anyone slows down their spending just a little bit or pulls back a little bit, that could have a ripple effect.
Yep, absolutely.
Pretty quickly.
So year to date, just for those keeping score, at home, NVIDIA up 55% year to date. So pretty solid return there. Mr. Huang, obviously with his personal stake in the company, shooting up the rich go.
Yeah, ninth richest person according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index.
Gains for the year, he's number 3. Oof. So there you go. We'll have more coming up. This is Bloomberg. Good morning.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm John Tucker in the Bloomberg Newsroom with this Bloomberg Business Flash. More green on the screen as we add to yesterday's records. And this one, kind of a head-scratcher. Fiserv stock suffering a record plunge. The fintech cutting its forecast for this year's adjusted earnings per share. The chief operating officer, the head accountant there being replaced, the firm's longtime chief financial officer, and the CEO unveiling sweeping change in other top leadership in the board of directors. Mike Lyons, the CEO, he discovered Fiserv wasn't going to be able to deliver on its previous promise to investors. He undertook a broad-based review of the business in recent months. And then we move to the AI boom. NVIDIA, first ever company to be worth over $5 trillion. President Trump said he's going to discuss NVIDIA's Blackwell chips with China's Xi Jinping when they meet. After yesterday's record close with the major averages adding to their records once again, still Amanda Gotti at PNC does have concerns about market breadth.
I don't think there's a lot of downside risk to the market given how strong Q3 earnings season has been and what revisions look like into Q4 and next year. But it is something that we're certainly starting to watch very closely, especially as it relates to valuations in total. It's not a cheap market out there right now.
But it's not just Fed Day. Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta Platforms delivered their results after the close, with Amazon and Apple following tomorrow. And right now, the S&P 500, 14 points higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 248 points. NASDAQ 100 up 86 points. According to the British journal, the medical journal Lancet, they have an annual report on climate and health. Soaring temperatures are killing 550,000 people every year around the world. That's one heat-related death every minute. So these new numbers come during a year record-setting temperatures this year around the world. They also say it's an economic hit. Lost labor productivity related to heat, according to the Lancet, caused an estimated $1 trillion in income losses.
Like, are those numbers, are they higher than they used to be? Are they trending higher? Do we have context?
They're trending higher.
Because the climate change deniers, I would say, give me the context there. I mean, do 500,000 people die every year because of heat since the beginning of time? I don't know the answer.
It's a steep increase, at least according to the Lancet. And as far as, whether it's, new or fake or whatever, always follow the insurance industry and the actuaries, because they are the folks who, live or die by this stuff.
They quantify it.
They quantify it, yeah. So
they price it, yeah.
We check the markets for you all day long, right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker. That is your Bloomberg Business Flash. Scarlett and Paul.
Hey, John Tucker, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Scarlett Fu, Paul Sweeney. We're live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. We're streaming live on YouTube as well, so head over to youtube.com, search Bloomberg Local Podcast, and that's where you'll find us here. All right, we got a lot of tech earnings starting today after the close. We've got Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet. I think that's how it goes. And then tomorrow after the close, Amazon and Apple. So if you're a tech investor, you're going to get your full share of tech news in the next couple of days. We need to check in with Anurag Rana. He's a senior tech analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence, been doing this for decades. Let's start with Microsoft here. So we all know what Microsoft is. We all use Microsoft. We all get it. What is the investment story on Microsoft these days, Anurag?
So, the legacy business is still doing okay. I mean, whether it's Windows or Office, and those are good, businesses to be in because they drive a lot of free cash flow, but they're not growing as fast as they used to. So now the next phase of business is the cloud infrastructure business or just overall the cloud business. And that's seen such a big kick because of the OpenAI relationship that they have. And that has been driving growth for the past few years. And that's really the story for them right now is, how much of the lift that they're going to get on Microsoft's cloud because of all the OpenAI workloads that they are hosting.
Right. I'm so glad you go there because, of course, yesterday we did get news that OpenAI and Microsoft kind of reset their relationship. And now Microsoft will own a stake of OpenAI that's valued at $135 billion. Does that announcement show up in its results in any way tomorrow, or I should say today?
No, I mean, it does not show up because it's other income. It goes, accounting is different for that particular part of it. But for us, it's not the financial impact of that deal. It's really that Microsoft can use their technology or their models up till 2032. That to us is the most important aspect of it because, frankly speaking, Microsoft has been selling their Copilot products for a number of years using OpenAI's technology and having rights to that for the next 7 years, I think is probably the most important aspect of all that happened yesterday.
So how do you, and by the way, Microsoft hit an all-time high again today. Anurag, how do you think about the competitive landscape for the cloud business that is so important for the Microsofts of the world, the Amazons of the world, the Googles and things like that? How do you think about that?
So things have gotten shaken up in the last 12 months, largely because of the AI workloads. So OpenAI being an exclusive partner for Microsoft, Microsoft was, you could say, getting most of the benefits till it came to a point they had massive capacity constraints. Then at that point, I'm assuming with the help of or the allowance of Microsoft, OpenAI was able to outsource some of that work to Oracle as well as to CoreWeave. Now the question is, what's going to happen that no longer Microsoft has the right of first refusal as the cloud provider? Does OpenAI go out and start knocking on Amazon's door because they are the one vendor right now that has not seen any AI lift compared to whether it's Microsoft or Google? Both have shown an acceleration in their growth rates in the last quarter, which we didn't see for Amazon.
Anurag, let's talk about Alphabet. I look at the year-to-date performance, and Alphabet
Google
is number 2. Yeah, after Paul Sweeney calling it Google still, old school.
Yep.
Alphabet is number 2 after NVIDIA in terms of year-to-date gains, 43% advance so far this year. What's the outlook like for its results this quarter?
I think in the last quarter when they reported, they also showed a 500 basis points improvement in their cloud growth rate. And I think that's what everybody is going to hang on today and say, what is their cloud growth rate? They recently signed a very big deal with Anthropic to use Google chips. I mean, that's a huge deal, frankly. So they have the chips, they have the model, they have a cloud business. So I think investors right now are looking at this as probably one of the better ways to play AI. But when you go back, let's say a couple of years, the issue at hand was that everybody thought they're going to lose out on all their search business because of OpenAI. And I think that fears is somewhat subduing right now, but I think that cycle will keep on going as it relates to Google for some time, or Alphabet.
I mean, Google, dude, we spent long and hard coming up with that name and ticker symbol on the IPO. I have to admit, Anurag, I don't know. I don't click on as many links as I do in my search. I mean, I kind of go with the AI thing that comes up at the top. I'm like, okay, I got my answer.
Paul, I do the same thing, but one of the things is I'm also spending a lot more time on YouTube. So, I mean, the question is, if you have a plethora of assets, which Google has, you have a large language model, you have a cloud business, now you have chips. These guys, but I have not seen personally that level of slowdown in their search results as one would expect based on all the things we all talk about on a normal basis. So they're really doing something right where they're monetizing on whoever is going to their platform. They're doing the right thing of making sure they're pricing those products properly.
Is the overhang from the DOJ looking into them as a monopoly over? I mean, have we just kind of forgotten about that completely for Alphabet?
I think that was a very big push for them, and it's not just them. Apple got the you could say a relief from that as well, because Google pays Apple a lot of money to be the default search on iOS. I think that issue is probably behind us right now because of the OpenAI threat that Paul was just talking about. I think the regulator said that, listen, these guys have serious competition right now, so that's partially I think how they got away.
All right, that's good stuff. Anurag Rana, Senior Tech Analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. He is one of the leaders of our technology research team. It is a global team. We've got analysts all over the place in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, in New York, in Los Angeles, in London, and in Asia as well, Hong Kong and Tokyo. So we have analysts all over because it is a global business with drivers across the globe, and that's how we cover it there. So again, it's a big day for pretty much everybody who's in the stock market, because if your mutual fund owns a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. And of course, we'll be breaking down all the numbers. Carol Massar and Tim Stenovic will be doing the honors along with Romaine Bostic and Katie Greifeld today at 4 p.m. when the market closes on Bloomberg Television and Bloomberg Radio. So you'll want to keep it right here for all the latest numbers. In the meantime, this is Bloomberg Intelligence with Paul Sweeney and Scarlett Fu. Keep it right here on Bloomberg Radio.
This is Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney. We're live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York City. We're streaming live on YouTube as well. You can head over to youtube.com and search Bloomberg Local Podcast, and that's where you'll find us. Busy earning day. In addition to the big tech names after the close, we had Verizon report numbers. They had some subscriber losses. A little bit better than Street expected. The stock's actually up a couple of percent today. It's pretty much flat on the year, but I looked at it. It's got a dividend yield, almost 7%. It's like a utility there. John Butler joins us here. He covers all the telecom names for Bloomberg Intelligence. John, I know we heard from AT&T and T-Mobile last week. We got Verizon today. This is a competitive business. What did you learn from Verizon and their results, John?
So this, first of all, I'll tell you, the dividend is safe, Paul. I mean, that's the good news for Verizon. And it's safe because new CEO Dan Schulman, who recently replaced Hans Vestberg at the helm of Verizon, sort of laid out his new plan for growth. I think the real watchword of the day here for Verizon is to pivot from a very technology or network oriented company to now Schulman is going to turn them into a very consumer focused company. I think he's really going to take a page out of T-Mobile's book. But in terms of promoting, I think unlike T-Mobile, he's going to do it in a more disciplined manner. And that's why you're seeing every stock in the group up today. I think there's sort of a relief, if you will, for investors that the gloves really aren't going to come off on the promotional front here.
So I guess as I think about the wireless business, I mean, we all have a phone in our pocket. It just seems like the only way to grow revenue is either add subscribers, which can be expensive, or raise prices, which how long can you do that? How do you grow the business?
I mean, that's one thing he talked about was how to grow the business here. And what you're seeing with the telecoms is they're all pushing more heavily into broadband. They're doing a very good job there. With Verizon, like AT&T, they've got two avenues of growth there. One is fiber broadband. Verizon is buying Frontier, so they're going to onboard about 1 million new fiber subscribers in the new year. And the other is fixed wireless access, which is sort of that wireless link into the home. It's been very popular with people. So once you get those broadband subscribers, probably more than half of them don't have wireless. And so Verizon's aim is to continue to build that broadband base and then cross-sell wireless into that base. You've also got switching activity that goes on in any given quarter, no matter how hard the carriers try. You're always going to lose some subscribers, and they're up for grabs. And I think Verizon now is looking to get their fair share of those. And there's also modest, very modest organic growth in the business through population growth and some immigration, although immigration is down this year.
Yep. I don't even know where we are, John, in terms of the 5G, 6G, 4G. Are there technological changes coming to the wireless business, or are we at kind of where we're at in terms of capacity and usage and so on?
So capacity is on the rise. Spectrum is the lifeblood of wireless. The more spectrum you have, the more network capacity you have. To put it in layman's terms, for the average smartphone user, that means higher download speeds. And Verizon is currently activating what's called C-band spectrum. It's very high capacity. And so you're going to see their average network speeds across the nation edge up over time as they activate that spectrum. In terms of the generational upgrades that you alluded to, the 3G, 4G, 5G, we're mid-cycle now. We launched 5G about 5 years ago, and I think you'll see an upgrade to 6G as we get towards 2030. But right now, it's sort of status quo on that front.
So I guess the issue for Verizon is now going more customer-centric. And as you mentioned, when I read that, it seemed just like what T-Mobile's been doing for years and years and years, going back to John Ledger. Is this a strategy you think can be successful for Verizon?
We'll see. I mean, that's their big challenge, right? I mean, T-Mobile was always the branding king. They did a great job there, just as you said, starting with John Ledger, who made himself the face of the brand. He really did a terrific job there. They went out as a sort of a hip counterculture, consumer-friendly brand. Verizon was at the opposite end of that spectrum, leaning into their great network coverage. They still have that. They have probably the best coverage in the industry, but in terms of network speed and performance, the other two, AT&T and T-Mobile, have really caught up. So the challenge for Verizon now is to nurture a more consumer-friendly brand image, dare I say, almost fun brand image. I have to chuckle. Yep. That really isn't something we would associate with Verizon. But I think Schulman, given his background at other telcos and also in reviving PayPal, has some experience there with branding. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Verizon to improve that brand image.
All right, John, thanks so much for joining us. That's John Butler. He covers all the telecom stocks for Bloomberg Intelligence. For our listeners, in the U.S., a reminder, you can listen to us via satellite radio on Sirius XM Channel 121. Access the world's only global audio business network coast to coast, 24 hours a day. Bloomberg Radio on Sirius XM Channel 121 is presented by Oracle. Stay tuned for the latest market news and industry research. Your top stories and global business headlines are coming up right now.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. A major cleanup effort's getting underway in Jamaica after the blast from Hurricane Melissa. CBS's Jason Allen is in Kingston.
There was intense rain. There was flash flooding. It's destroyed parts of the island. And officials have been telling us there are entire communities on the island's southwest end that are underwater. We're really just beginning to see some videos emerge of all the damage there. There are many homes that have been turned into piles of rubble. Other buildings still standing are completely flooded.
River flooding triggered by rain from the hurricane is blamed for at least 25 deaths in Haiti. And there's news today about our climate.
I'm Vicki Barker in London. A major study on the health impact of global warming links toxic air pollution, wildfires, and the spread of such once rare diseases as dengue fever to a failure to tackle global heat, resulting, the researchers say, in a death toll that's now reached an average of one person a minute around the world.
It's day 29 of the government shutdown and a familiar refrain of blame delivered by House Speaker Mike Johnson.
This is not the Republicans. This fault is squarely on the shoulders of the Democrats, and they're the ones causing you the pain, and don't ever let them forget it. Thank you.
The White House has fired all 6 members of the federal agency that was expected to review some of President Trump's construction projects, including the big ballroom. CBS's Natalie Brand.
From what we've gathered, all the members who had been recently fired were appointed during the Biden administration. We do have a statement from the White House on the firing saying, in part, we are preparing to appoint a new slate of members to the commission that are more aligned with President Trump's, quote, America First policies.
Overseas, Russia says it's conducted a successful test of a new atomic-powered and nuclear-capable underwater drone, boasting the weapon cannot be intercepted. Comes just days after a test of a new nuclear-powered cruise missile. CBS's Jim Krasula now on One Choice for Word of the Year.
You might be tired of hearing. Now, Dictionary.com has chosen 6-7 as its 2025 Word of the Year. It's an ambiguous slang term made popular by Gen Alpha on social media and in schools and in friends groups across the country. It's become so pervasive and perhaps bothersome that some schools are now banning it.
The AI chip maker NVIDIA became the world's first $5 trillion company today. And on Wall Street, the Dow is up 215 points. The S&P is up 10. This is CBS News. What seems like a timely discovery in L.A.
Just in time for Halloween.
The Bride of Frankenstein.
The discovery of a grave containing the remains of Elsa Lanchester, who played the Bride of Frankenstein in the 1935 movie. Scott Michaels, founder of Hollywood's Deadly Departed Tours, says he came across the marker in a rose garden under the actress' married name, Lawton. He unveiled it on what would have been her 123rd birthday. Until now, movie historians believed Lanchester had been cremated after she died in 1986, and her ashes spread at sea. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Game 5 of baseball's World Series is tonight in Los Angeles. The Blue Jays topped the Dodgers last night 6-2 to even things up at 2 games apiece. The series will then shift back to Toronto for Game 6. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
Live from Washington, D.C., this is Balance of Power with Joe Matthew.
It's Fed Day. The government is still shut down, and Congress begins pushing back on the president. Welcome to the Wednesday edition as we count down to the decision on interest rates just a couple of hours from right now on this day 29 of the government shutdown. If you're still keeping track, we're going to talk it out shortly with Bloomberg's Michael McKee, who's just about to head over to the Fed. And we'll spend some time with Republican Congressman Chuck Fleischmann of Tennessee this hour. He'll be with us shortly in studio as we try to figure a way out of the shutdown here. President Trump's in South Korea talking trade ahead of his meeting tomorrow with President Xi. Yes, the stakes are high. We're counting down to that meeting that'll take place tonight, East Coast time. And we'll have a live report from Zhengzhou where it's all happening. After a look at Wall Street, we start there now with Charlie Pellet. He's got the latest on the markets from World Headquarters in New York. Charlie, how's it going?
Thank you very much, Joe Matthew. Indeed, welcome back. Nice to have you back again. We have got the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ. They're all pushing higher right now. Fed Wednesday, lots of moving parts to this market. Key earnings coming up after the close of trading, and we've got you covered on any and all trade developments. Right now, the S&P at 6,900, even up 9, on track for a record today if these numbers stick, up 0.1%. The Dow up 226 right now, up by about 0.5%. NASDAQ up 98. That is a gain of 0.4%. The Mag 7 index up 0.5%, while the 10-year currently yielding 3.99%. The 2-year 3.49%. Gold back in the green, up by 1.1% right now, $39.93 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude back above 60 a barrel, $60.88 now, up 1.2%. We do have a focus today on trade developments, earnings, and just under 2 hours from now, a Fed decision, and then, of course, the Jay Powell News Conference. Gargi Chowdhury is Chief Investment and Portfolio Strategist Americas at BlackRock Financial Management. She was a guest this morning on Bloomberg Surveillance.
Certainly with the Fed, I think we should pay particular attention to what happens with the balance sheet. I do think that the 25 basis point rate cut is very well advertised and very well priced, but it's really about if they do something with the balance sheet runoff, and if that gets announced today.
BlackRock's Gargi Chowdhury, and you can hear more of the conversation on the Surveillance podcast. You can download it wherever you get your podcast. The decision drops at 2 p.m. Wall Street time. Complete reaction and analysis, as you have come to expect over the years from Bloomberg. And then, of course, Jay Powell's news conference, 2:30, and Michael McKee's question, 2:30 p.m. Wall Street time. NVIDIA today became the first $5 trillion company as President Trump says he'll discuss the Blackwell processors with China's Xi Jinping. Right now, we got NVIDIA up by 2.3%. Again, Alphabet, Meta Platforms, Microsoft, all reporting after the close of trading. For on-demand news 24 hours a day, subscribe to Bloomberg News Now wherever you get your podcasts. And back we go to Washington. Once again, your host, here he is. Big warm welcome back, Joe Matthew.
Boy, thank you, Charlie. Gosh, I only leave for 2 days. Thank you so much, Charlie. It's great to see you in New York. We'll be back with Charlie in about 15 minutes for more on the Wednesday trade. Yeah, you're halfway through the week and not a lot has changed. The government's still closed. The Fed's still expected to cut. All that will unfold today in real time, and we'll do this together. Of course, 2 o'clock is the magic hour here. Our special coverage starts at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk momentarily with Michael McKee, who's got his bag ready. He's headed over the Fed, and yes, we'll try to get a sense of what he's asking today and whether Jay Powell can answer anything, because we're in this data drought that's been making things pretty interesting around here. 29th of October. By God, it's almost November. You know, we have to turn the clocks back this week, and the government will still be shut down. We'll talk later on this hour with Chuck Fleischmann, the Republican from Tennessee, is here. We'll play it to our panel as well. Jeannie Shanzano is with us, Ashley Davis, as we get our arms around everything that's happening today in the nation's capital and, of course, in South Korea. If you want to sound smart at the cocktail parties later, Busan is the coastal town in the south of South Korea where they're going to be meeting tomorrow, Trump and Xi. After, of course, the president spent a couple days there already at the APEC summit talking about the progress that he's been making with trade. Listen to President Trump from earlier, Seong-ju.
On this trip alone, I've signed groundbreaking agreements with Malaysia, Cambodia, Japan. Our deal with the Republic of Korea will be finalized very soon, like moments or very shortly.